Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, African Americans are 20% more likely to have serious mental health problems than the general population. Black men especially affected, as many of the societal problems they face can lead to mental illness. Long-term unemployment can turn into depression. Exposure to drug use, violence, and other stressors can lead to post-traumatic stress disorder. And what's worse, the stigma of mental illness in the Black community prevents many Black men from seeking help. Up next on Another View on Health, Black men, mental illness, and how you can help. Another View is next, so stay tuned.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Two things I want to bring to your attention before we get into our Another View on Health topic today on men and mental health. And the first is on Tuesday, June 26th at 7:15 p.m. at the Narrow Cinema. That's in Ghent in Norfolk. The Gospel According to Andre. Now, Andre Leon Talley has been a fixture in the world of fashion for so long that it's difficult to imagine a time without him. And this is a documentary about his life, going through the emotional journey of his roots growing up in segregated Jim Crow South to becoming one of the most influential tastemakers and fashion curators of our times. And we're going to have a panel discussion afterwards. Kim Wadsworth, a fashion editor, stylist, and makeup artist in Hampton Roads. Ron Cook, a producer and director of Road Gallery Presents. Christy Frederick, assistant professor of fashion design at Norfolk State University. And yours truly will be on the panel. So come on out and enjoy The Gospel According to Andre. Also, next week on the 28th, Thursday, June the 28th, from 9 until 4 p.m., Can I Live Section 8 Housing Forum 2018 will be happening at the Old Dominion University Strom Entrepreneurial Center. Now, this is a workshop for mission-driven landlords, banks and lenders, city and housing staff, and HUD program participants. To register, you go to Norfolk Section 8 Forum.eventbrite.com. That's Norfolk Section 8 Forum.eventbrite.com. And, you know, with all of the revitalization efforts going on in the St. Paul's area, this will be a really important workshop for those who want to understand what the HUD program, the Housing and Urban Development Program called Section 8, is all about. So go to Norfolk Section 8 Forum.eventbrite.com. So two things in the community that I thought you might be interested in. So June is Men's Health Month, and on today's Another View on Health, we lift the cover off the stigma of mental illness and examine its impact on the mental health of our Black men. Joining me is counselor and licensed clinical social worker Kevin Childs. He has a counseling practice in Virginia Beach. Hi, Kevin. How you doing?
Hey, Barbara. I'm doing well.
Great.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. And my co-host of Another View on Health, cardiologist Dr. Keith Newby. And I understand today is the big birthday. Happy birthday,
well,
Dr. Newby.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So is this a milestone? Okay, I won't put you on the hook.
I'll say this. I thank God I'm here.
There you go.
And but 5-5 for me, and it's another day. I'm still working.
There you go.
But we do what we have to do. I'm
double
just enjoying
nickels.
it. Yeah, double nickels. I'll take that and run with it.
Fantastic. Well, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
And glad you decided to spend some time with us here
I
on Another View.
Would rather be nowhere else than with Barbara Ham Lee.
So, Kevin,
Yes.
it is June is Men's Health Month. Mental health is a part of our entire holistic look at our health.
Absolutely.
So, first, let's get a definition of what is mental illness.
Mental illness would be a factor or condition that we have that will interfere with the quality of our life, interfere with the activities that we may participate in daily, school, work, relationships, those types of things.
And if you have a mental illness or you're diagnosed with a mental illness, does that mean you're crazy?
Absolutely not. I hardly even know what crazy means. We use it so often, right? But mental illness is akin to physical illness, right? Except that it has a stigma that comes along with it, where we're not necessarily ashamed of having a broken leg, right? But we will be ashamed, a lot of us, of being diagnosed with depression or something along that line.
Why is that? Where did that stigma come from? Particularly in our community.
Yeah, well, especially when I think about adults, it starts actually with children, I believe. The environmental factors that come along with things like trusting the system, with things like asking for help, and those types of things. A lot of times, asking for help seems like something that is a weakness, especially among men. And I think that kind of gets perpetuated and reinforced through general living as we go along. The idea of being weak. As a man, you're not supposed to ask for help. As a boy, you got to shake it off, be a man, be tough, that type of thing.
Man up.
Yep, there you go. Shake it off.
That's like we don't like to ask for directions when we're driving somewhere.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, you know what? Yeah,
same
that's
difference.
the same concept. That's
same
right.
difference.
You're supposed to be able to handle it yourself, even though we can be a parts of teams when we come up. We can be, some of us parts of street gangs, some of us parts of other types of groups. But when we think about men or boys in that situation, it's still to prove that you belong, right? You still have to have some physical attributes and physical prowess. You have to have some bravado, that type of thing. But you can't show things that might be considered weak vulnerability. You can't show that you're scared. You can't show that you're nervous, that you don't know, those types of things, right? And those type of things.
And you really think about it, to be honest with you, the society almost perpetuates that stereotype. And I say that as an example, in the hospital. One of the things that I laugh about this, but it is a serious point. If there's a man that's there, it's a big guy. And if he, nurse guy come in there, put an IV in, and he starts making noise, oh man, that nurse will come out of that room, that little sissy in there, or they'll use these terms that that show, they expect,
because we're all conditioned to think that men are
they
supposed
actually
to be tough.
exactly, so they expect us to be this way. So to show a sign when you know how people may look at you from there on is going to lead you to that path of insecurity to come forth and say, I need that help, because you know what people may say about you. Part of it is truly a sign that you don't want to appear weak, but the other part is people are going to look at you as being weak, and they will voice that.
Absolutely.
So, Kevin, how much does racism play in terms of the manifestation of mental illness ultimately? Do you think?
Well, I think it plays a large role. What we're looking at is being stigmatized as a person, right, as a people. And that creates stress. And you think about the barriers that come along the way, because it permeates all through society, from school to, mental health providers or health providers in general, and the systems that come along with that. And there's something that a lot of times when people think about stress or trauma, we think about a particular incident. But there are a lot of small injustices, a lot of small things that accumulate, right? There's a cumulative effect that creates a traumatic impact, right? And it starts early on.
So let's talk about depression, because I know that that's one of the major illnesses that affect people in general, and then the black men also. First, what's the difference between feeling a little blue, and being clinically depressed?
I think we're looking at length of time. We're looking at intensity, right? How intense are your feelings? How long are those feelings? How long they interfere with, if at all, they interfere with the way you live your life, right? And so if we're looking at things to interfere with your work, if your social activities, your relationships, those are the types of things. If your mood impacts those types of things, and it happens for, I guess, 2 weeks or so, right? Then we're looking at some depression that we need to take a closer look at.
You know, it's interesting when I posted the topic on Facebook and on our social media, got a lot of response from women saying, finally, I'm glad we're going to talk about this. What is the role that the woman plays in terms of helping or hindering her man from going to get help?
Well, in my experience, what I've found is that women can be a catalyst for guys seeking help. Although,
that's okay. Be for real.
He's trying
we want to help people.
He's trying to
Exactly.
be politically correct.
Exactly.
There,
But we really want to help people. Yeah.
Well, guys come in a lot of times, and when their arms are twisted, right?
Okay.
And their arms are twisted, they come in, and if it's, for instance, surrounding relationship issues, by the time they come in, the relationship is really on the brinks, right? And this is a last-ditch effort, and he's coming to please her, not necessarily to improve himself or deal with his issues. And so when that happens, you're not real about seeking help, okay? And so the impact of the treatment is less effective. Sometimes men do come in based with the prodding of their significant other or the mom or someone else, a woman in their life who says, you really, really need to talk to someone about this. And when they do, and they come in at their urging, but realizing that, you know what, maybe I need to talk to someone about this, well, that's when we can get some work done.
Because they've accepted it within themselves.
Absolutely.
One of the hardest things that I've, as a physician and even as a friend, I've had colleagues, friends of mine that have had like relationship issues, and I hear this come up time and time where the woman typically is the one that institutes the counseling. Now I've seen it the opposite way as well, but probably 90% women will initiate the need to have counseling or whatever. But I've had a couple of debates with a couple of my friends who have been in that situation, and they will, I'm not going to that. And they'll give me all these issues, and I'm like, well, listen, make sure you understand before you say you're ready to get divorced, have you really done everything you can do? And when they always quick to say, yeah, I said, hold up. I said, you remember, I know you.
Correct.
I said, I've heard some things you said that don't sound like you're really, trying to cooperate. I said, marriage is a relationship, and you have to kind of look at it globally and not just look at it from your narrow point of view. So the biggest thing, and I would ask this, is even in myself, as a physician, and I see patients, I have a lot of them with anxiety issues, and I've had some with blood pressure issues, and I feel it's a direct reflection of that. But when you start bringing that up, and I found this men and women, the first thing is I get a bunch of pushback, to the conceptual idea, and I'm saying, listen, prove me wrong then. Go ahead and get the help and see, because what do you have? I mean, what do you have to lose? Right? I said, if I'm wrong, you can come back and talk all kinds of trash to me, but at least you've gone through the process. But if I'm right, and you get help, and you can then start regulating your health better, that could only be a plus for you in the end. But trying to figure out how to convince people to at least be willing to seek help has been the biggest challenge I've had as a physician and as a friend to other people. So if any advice you have in that realm to try to see how to craft your verbiage in a way to say, listen, you need help, and I'm saying this for the listening audience as well, because I'm sure they have similar, kind of feelings of trying to, how do you say it in a way that is not
not a turn off, right?
Exactly.
But will help them to go.
Well, I think the first thing we have to understand is that the process itself is counterintuitive to what people want to do, right? Come to a stranger, right? And we want them to be vulnerable, to share intimate details about their thoughts, their thinking in life. So understanding that's that's going to be inherent in the process. But one thing I like folks to understand and try to share with other people is that you're still in control of this process, right? You come in and you decide how much you want to share and what pace you want to go. And if you don't want to, or how often you come, if you want to stop, you feel like we're not a good fit, you feel like this is going too fast, you can share that. We can talk about that. It's not you come in and just give up everything that you have and, and you just become, a robot to do what someone suggests. Even if we talk about different approaches and how to do things, you still have control and say, well, I'm not as comfortable with that. Or, I say, well, you can decide to tweak it if you want, but.
Do you have trouble convincing people that even talking is a form of help? I mean, because some people, well, why would I go sit and just talk about a problem? Well, how is that going to help me?
Well, yeah, every now and then. By the time they come to me, they're
pretty much there.
Yeah, Well, like I said, unless their arm is twisted and they're saying to, their significant other, okay, I'll go. But if they're there looking for help, then they're pretty much on board with that. What I try to say is that, yeah, you can find someone else, a friend, a family member, someone to speak with, and that could be helpful, right? Mm-hmm. However, getting a neutral party, someone who's trained specifically to look at and work with the issues that you're dealing with can take that to another level, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't have to worry about, is there another agenda, or be embarrassed about looking at them day in and day out, that type of thing, or go back to work, you share something with a
coworker or
something, and then you have to look in their face. Yeah. So it allows, a certain level of privacy.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. We're talking about African American men and mental health. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Are you someone who's been looking for help and want to know more about what you should seek before you go? Give us a call and let's talk about it. We have a couple questions from Facebook. One wanted to know, are veterans suffering from PTSD more likely to seek help on their own than civilians? Do you know?
From my understanding, my experience is no. They are not. Well, yeah, I'm going to say they are not. If they're, well, you're saying veterans, I'm thinking if they're still active duty, yeah, I think they're a little hesitant because of the stigma and the risk to their careers if someone understands or believes.
I was also reading that about police officers too, because a lot of, there was an article I was reading was saying police officers will pay for the treatment on their own. Or seek help outside of the police department because they don't want that on their record. Because in some police departments that could mean dismissal, as opposed to getting. You would think that getting help would be a good thing.
Yes, mission ready. Got to be mission ready.
I deal with that a lot too, because I have to do physicals sometimes for government agencies, and when I run into police officers and what have you, and they're very protective of that part of their life for that reason. Yeah, it's not that they don't want to share; they just scared how it's going to impact their career.
I agree. Now, for civilians, a lot of them don't recognize what it is they're experiencing. Yes.
So what is it? Let's talk about PTSD. What I would imagine people who experience a lot of violence, maybe, or other stressors. What is it?
Yeah, it's when typically people think about, again, an experience that was or that is had been life-threatening, either to you or someone close to you, that you've seen it, you've heard about it, you've experienced it, something along the line that was threatening your life in some way, shape, or form, or significant injury, right? That type of thing. And it could be natural disaster, it could be war, it could be armed robbery, it could be a lot of different things. And those things that they impact us so that we're kind of have a distorted time view of that thing, so that the memory of that experience, if it triggers, some triggers hit us and we're almost there again, like it's there, it's living we're living through that experience again. And sometimes sometimes folks have difficulty managing that. Mm-hmm. And it impacts, again, if it interferes with your life in any significant way, then, it's likely to be that. But it also can be, as I said before, a cumulative impact of things. Yes, we call to study the adverse childhood experiences. Mm-hmm. It's a study, and they did a wide-ranging study, and they saw that things in the homes like, poverty, someone being incarcerated, exposed to physical or mental abuse. It doesn't have to be something that leaves you physically scarred or abused or bruised. Mm-hmm. But these are things that if you live with this day in and day out, they impact you in a way that causes you to be wary, right? To be hypervigilant sometimes about what's going on around you, to feel like you're in survival mode all of the time. Mm. And so that happens with children. So when we have men who are adverse to seeking help, but have experiences, things started when they were young. Mm-hmm, and come through. We talk about black folks and the impoverished communities that some of us come through, or even not, but just to how you're seen.
So, Kevin, how come it affects some people and it doesn't affect others? I mean, is there a chemical reason? Do you have a propensity towards mental illness as opposed to other people who don't? What is it?
I don't. No, it's not a chemical propensity or a predisposition. I don't. That's not my understanding of why some people can go through those. There may be some protective factors that allow folks to handle situations a little better than others, and those protective factors could be parental relationships, could be your support systems. Seeking help early on, those types of things can be protective factors, right? Someplace safe to go, and you feel wanted, accepted, and valued, right? Those type of things can help you get through those situations. And if some of those things are lacking, right, and then you may be more vulnerable.
More vulnerable. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call. We're talking about mental illness, particularly for men. We want to hear from you in terms of if you know someone who has an issue, if you've dealt with a family member, tell us how you did that, or if you're seeking help yourself, give us a call, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. What about another Facebook question? What about cost? Is that a deterrent to keep people away?
I'm sure it is. Yeah. If you have insurance, it can be a great benefit to seeking help. Not every practitioner accepts every insurance program, but if you have insurance, you can find someone. Okay, if they have that benefit to help you out, and sometimes there are co-pays and deductibles and those type of things. So it can be, but
they also a lot of times insurance will say, well, you get 6 visits. Or whatever. I mean, why? I don't know why that's a magic number, but what if you need more?
Those insurance companies are getting away from that. You'll find that when you have the EAP.
Yes, the Employment Assistance Programs.
Yes, and they'll say that, and that benefit is not coming out of your insurance plan per se. Okay. So they'll limit that, and once you're done, you can
go through your own insurance.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And sometimes the other thing with that is they may leave a certain number because, like anything else, they want to make sure it's not getting abused. So they'll say they may say you get 6 visits or whatever, and then it has to be resubmitted to say if a lot of times a lot of insurance companies. I mean, even though I'm not a big fan of insurance companies for obvious reasons because we had to fight them tooth and nail. But it depends on the plan. So, and what I find is, they may say, okay, you have a certain number, then you have to resubmit documents to say why you want to
just to make
do
sure.
more. Yeah, so they sometimes they'll do that, just keep people from just going willy-nilly, to have things done.
If you're just joining us, we're talking about African American men and mental illness with counselor and licensed clinical social worker Kevin Childs and co-host of Another View on Health, cardiologist Dr. Keith Newby. And also, let me give a shout out to the young folks who are joining us today from READ, which is Rejuvenating Excellence and Accomplishing Dreams. We've got 6 folks from that group representing high schools from Norfolk and from Chesapeake, and we appreciate them being here. So hi, everybody. They're all sitting in the control room watching us as we do the show. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Dr. Newby.
Yeah, I know the question came up about the first question about the veterans. Did we define PTSD to say what it is? I know we talked about it, but did we say it's post-traumatic stress?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
We did not say that the actual post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah,
Yes,
just so
you're
people would know
absolutely right.
what that means.
Good
I mean,
point.
most people
Good
do,
point.
but
Good point. Well, some folks think that it's only military people
yeah.
who get
Right.
that. That's why it says a lot of civilians aren't even aware of what it is they're experiencing.
What about anger? Is anger a symptom or is that a diagnosed an illness also?
Typically, we look at it as a symptom. A lot of times it's related to depression, guilt, anger, shame, the hurt, those type of things. But it's related to depression. A lot of folks aren't aware of why they're angry or what is that they're depressed, right? And that it's expressed a lot of times through anger and irritability, especially children, especially younger children, and adults. They don't know. So yes, anger, and there are times when there's intermittent explosive disorder, that type of thing, where your anger explodes, right? And that type of thing. The anger can be a predominant thing, but it's, again,
Or
there's
is it
some underlying.
some underlying things there. And the other one was anxiety. So tell us what that looks like.
Racing thoughts, excessive worry, and it can manifest in insomnia, lack of appetite, acquired tics and habits, different nervous things that you do, impatience, that type of thing. But typically folks who are anxious, have anxiety, are worried about some things that excessively. Now, we all have worry, so that's not an issue. Yeah. We all feel depressed sometimes. That is not necessarily an issue, but
it's when it goes beyond a normal one or 2 day thing into weeks.
Well, I would say it's all about control in the end. I mean, can you like you talk about anger? I mean, we all get angry, but can we control our anger? Can we control our anxiety? We all get anxious about certain situations. You go to a doc and you worry you got cancer, and you wait for this test result to come back. I don't know anybody that wouldn't have a little bit of that. It's just I think it's all about degrees. I'm finding if you like excessively worried. I have a few people like that just, it's like they just, they can't lose it without being able to control their level of anxiety. And that's where I'm, of course, as a cardiologist, I don't really know how to make that determination about where the line is drawn in the sand, but I do see the excessiveness.
To refer them. The phones are lining up 440-2665, 1-800-940-2240. Chesapeake. Tiffany joins us from Chesapeake. Hi, Tiffany. You're on the air.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Uh-huh.
So I'm calling about my dad, who is very manipulative and controlling at times. And I do think he has anger issues. I just heard you guys talking about that. I do think he has anger issues. We've been very close for all of my life, but it was only when I got to be maybe in my 20s and 30s that I realized that he had these tendencies. Because of something that happened a couple of years ago, our relationship has gone completely sour, and we're not speaking. We haven't spoken now in maybe 2 months. I gave him the ultimatum that the only way that we could move forward in our relationship is if he went to counseling, and he said he's not going. So my question is, how to get him to go. It's just strange to me that, he would forego his relationship with me just because he doesn't want to go to see a counselor.
Okay, let's let Kevin respond to you. Thanks for the call, Tiffany. What do you think, Kevin?
Well, I think that his anger is hiding some other things, right? A lot of times for men, we don't feel that we're allowed to express the full range of human emotion. But what's acceptable a lot of times is anger. Oh, he's a man, he's angry. So he can do that. And so that's what he's doing. But to decide to work on that, we're talking about maybe having some dominoes fall. So yes, what am I angry about? For real, right? And then if I had to look at what I'm angry about, then I have to admit this. And some other things are also true. And so there's fear associated with pulling back, the curtain and looking at yourself.
Is there a way?
Yeah, I was going to say that somebody else could talk her and talk him into it. Is
there a way to craft maybe her approach to him that maybe, because I mean, it sounds like she said I gave him an ultimatum, so it's like either do this or not. And I think for most men, and Tiffany, most men, I tell you, we tend to be stubborn at times, and when we given ultimatums, we sometimes can't see the forest for the trees. I would only imagine if you guys have been as close as what you described, he's probably in a lot of pain with not talking to you. But sometimes we don't know how to come back and say we were wrong or we should have done it this way. And I guess the question that I would pose to you is in her kind of discussion, obviously for her to call, that means she's concerned.
She's concerned about it, right.
So how could she recraft a conversation with him in a way that would see that she is really just trying to make this a better situation?
Okay, thank you for redirecting that for me. Yes, what I would think about, Tiffany, is to approach that with what it can do for us, right? And not necessarily say, point the finger and say what's wrong with you, Dad, but say that, Dad's leadership, your leadership, right, can help us heal what's going on with us, and maybe talking to a neutral party who's a professional may be beneficial in helping us to repair, the bridge that we have torn down.
Wow. I hope that helps, Tiffany. Thanks so much for the call. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Mary Alice joins us from Franklin. Hi, Mary Alice. How are you?
Hey, Barbara. I'm good. How about you?
Good. I'm doing great.
Glad to hear you and your guest today.
Thank you.
This is such an important program that you're doing for everybody. And I have a friend. She's not a man, she's a woman. And recently, my neighbor and I were very concerned about her, and we talked her into admitting herself to the hospital. And she was staying with a family member at the time, and I didn't want the family member to be worried. So I called the family member to tell her that I was taking my friend to the hospital. And her response was, "Oh, no, you're not. She's my family member, and I can take care of her." Well, and I told her, I said, "Well, I'm taking her to the hospital." And, she is now out. She spent a month there, but she's now out. And, but, she doesn't want to talk. And, they're always being told, well, keep it within the family. This is something the family can handle. So, that's just my perspective on it. And it's very, very sad.
Mary Alice, thank you for that, because, and I'm glad you brought up that point. There was something else I was going to mention, because that is a part of our culture, the African American culture in terms of you do keep these things within the family. You don't spread it to outsiders. So let me have our guests respond to you. And thanks so much for the call. So Kevin, what about that? I mean, we tend to, it's either take it to God, you know, or keep it in the family, but you don't go outside and talk to others.
Yeah, that's something I've seen over the years. I have a history of being a child protective services social worker, and a lot of times that's part of what we run into as social workers. Now, some of that is, I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing, right?
Okay.
Because we all don't want our life to be open book to the public.
Right.
And on the other hand, there's sometimes when that keeping it within the family thing is covering up some abusive type behaviors or some behaviors that are better served, right, by a professional. So
It sounded like there was some denial going on in there too. I mean, in terms of if others could see that this person needed help, she was there for a month, so I'm assuming she did.
Right.
And it's hard for family members to accept.
Yeah, we run into that, and that's an unfortunate.
Do mental health professionals work hand in hand with clergy and with other religious leaders so that there's not that separation? But we know how important the church is in the African American community, and some people say, well, I just got to take it to God and in prayer, and that's it, and I'm not going to seek a professional. Is there any kind of professional relationship where kind of the two groups come together?
I'm going to say I think there is, but I'm not aware of anything
on a formal basis.
Yes. However, I think it depends on each congregation, each leader. There's some pastors who are proactive with that and welcome that, and some mental health practitioners can get together. I've heard of that, and I've seen that, been a part of that to a certain extent, where the pastor is mainly saying spiritual type help, and if you need some other emotional or mental health, then they encouraged working with mental health practitioners outside of the church, or some of them even brought them in to be a part of their mission, what they serve. So there's some of that going on in a lot of different places. I know for substance abuse issues and other mental health type issues, there are some churches that have, in the African American community, that have built-in professionals, trained professionals working with them in those avenues.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Chris joins us from Hampton. Hi, Chris. You're on the air.
Yes. Ms. Sam, just wanted to tell you I really, really enjoy your show, and particularly today's show.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask both of your panelists, what are the setbacks or what are the benefits of medication, and do you have to get a prescription only just from a psychologist or a psychiatrist or even a medical doctor that you have there on the show?
For medication? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So if you prescribe medication, you don't prescribe medication,
No,
Kevin,
no.
right? As a licensed clinical social worker.
Right. Typically, you need to be a physician. I think some nurse practitioners can do that. Those are the ones that I know of. Psychiatrists. So when is the determination
done that you need medication as well as counseling? How does that? At what point, or how did that happen? Do you, if somebody comes to you directly and you work with them for a while, can you then say, I need to also refer you to,
Yes,
this person so you can get some meds?
If they are open to that, yeah, and I think they need it, sure. I bring it up and I suggest it, and it still is up to the person I'm working with to decide to do that or not. But sure, yeah, we do that. We make referrals to folks who are for people who, if we don't think that the therapy is having enough positive effect, and if their patient, if they decide, sometimes they say, yeah, well, maybe I need something because it's not working fast enough. Okay, then we'll look at that, sure. We'll look at that and make the referral.
Okay. Chris, thanks so much for the call. We appreciate that. So, Kevin, if somebody comes to your office, all right, I call you up and I say, I want to come for a session. What happens? For those who have never been
Okay.
stepped foot in an office for counseling session, what happens?
Okay. Well, the first thing I try to find out is what are their concerns? Because there are some concerns that I think someone else might be more qualified to work with.
Okay.
Some substance abuse issues, if there's sexual perpetration, those type of things, right? And they're looking for. Now, I will refer them elsewhere. So, what are your concerns, right? In certain age groups, I think I work better with, and so yeah. And if there's someone else, and I'll refer to people that I know and trust,
Okay.
who can work with that. But so, what are your concerns? You talk about your concerns, and then I want to know how soon you want to get in, and then we find out working schedule. And when they come in, then we'll go through not the first thing I'm not interested in hearing. Well, I'm not prioritizing is the issue that brought you here, because I have a holistic view on you as a person, right? So I want to know a little bit more about who you are aside from that particular issue, so I can see you differently and see you a little more than just this problem, because you're more than that. Complex, multi-layered, that type of thing.
Got you. Okay. And then from there, you start to work on an ongoing basis.
Yes.
With the person.
That's right. And the person can decide if it's, I might make a suggestion whether it's going to be weekly or bi-weekly. I try not to do anything more spread out than that, because there needs to be consistency in the treatment process. And so we're looking for weekly or bi-weekly.
And if someone is looking for a counselor or looking for help, what are the things that they should consider in looking for a you?
Okay. Well, who they think they'll work, but people have chosen a lot of different things that they consider. One is how easy is it to get to you, right? The other thing would be age, sex, gender, race. If you are, how much do you emphasize spirituality in your practice and those types of things? So they can ask about all that, or they can read about all that if you're looking for someone online or on any one of the different sites that do that. So that's the type of things they look for. They're looking for age, race, gender. Are you close enough?
Certifications.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes, right. If you are qualified, that's right, and insured and all that type of thing.
Okay. All right. Alan joins us from Chesapeake. Hi, Alan. You're on the air.
Hello. I'm a black man. I'm depressed, and I wanted you guys to talk on how racism affects black men, particularly. I know myself. It seems like, when you're driving down the street, you get nervous when a cop comes. A lot of black men don't want to talk about that. We get nervous when we see a cop drive by. We get nervous when we have to go and try to get jobs, and you can't get a job as fast as maybe our female counterparts and things like that. It's kind of rough racism. So can you kind of touch on that?
Okay. Alan, let me ask you a question, too. Are you getting some help?
No, not really. It's hard. If you think about it, like the men on the panel were saying, no one wants to feel like they're weak. No man wants to feel weak or like he's in a weak position and that he needs to be fixed. That's kind of like almost emasculates him, and so it's just hard to find people you can trust. They're not going to try to take advantage of you, or not going to try to, add injury to insult, or it's tough out there.
Okay, I'm going to let Kevin respond to you.
Yeah, I hear you, and I understand what you're talking about. Exactly. The nervousness when you see a police officer or a police car, and the idea that you may not be as welcomed in the various places, right? Just because you're a black man. So, yeah, I understand that. And it didn't just start when you became a man, I'm sure, those things started long ago, right, in your youth. So I understand that. What I'd like to emphasize is that when you go to talk to someone, it's not an idea of weakness, right? It's an idea of being human and being real. And that's the thing I think we need to get to as men, right? That we need to be able to express the full range of human emotions. And to me, that's strength, right? To be able to not allow some false narratives that we've been conditioned to believe, not to allow that to interfere with how we are going to live our lives, how we're going to grow, how we're going to mend, ourselves, right? So reaching out, like I said earlier, it's not giving up control, right? You still have control over this process. How often you want to come, what you want to share.
Alan, we're going to give Kevin's phone number out at the end of the show, and either give him a call or reach out to someone. But please reach out for help, and we appreciate you calling into the show. Wishing you the best. So we've got 2 minutes left, gentlemen. Kevin, tell people how they can reach you first, and give me one last ray of hope for folks out there who
Sure. Okay, well, I can be reached at my phone number, 418-4974. That's directly to my cell phone, as a matter of fact. So if you call, I'll answer it. Well, if I'm available, I'm going to answer it. I'll return your call. The other thing I like to say is that there is a safe place, right? And that's the whole thing that we try to create. I try to create in my practice, and I'm sure other therapists do the same thing. A safe place for anyone, but knowing that I'm a black male, right? A safe place for you to come, and we can just talk, right? We can just talk.
That is Kevin Childs, licensed clinical social worker and counselor. Thank you so much. 30 seconds, Mr. Dr. Newby.
So I would just say this, especially to Alan, you don't have to always tell everybody, if you feel ashamed or you're embarrassed right now with it, you don't have to tell everybody that you are going to seek help, or just get the help you need. You can keep that to yourself. And as you kind of understand that you are human just like everybody else, we all have our weaknesses in life. We all do. So just be confident to say you need the help, you're seeking the help, and you'll be a better person for it in the end.
Thank you, Dr. Newby, and happy birthday again.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. Kevin's number again is 418-4974. That is Kevin Childs, and we'll be right back.
Hello, this is Spike Lee. What's happening? And you listen to Another View.
And welcome back. Each year, Hampton Roads Pride brings popular performers to the main stage, and this year is no exception. Headlining Pride Fest 2018 is Empire star Jussie Smollett, a.k.a. Jamal Lyon. The talented actor and singer recently spoke with our Lisa Godley about the music he loves, his busy life, and what folks in Hampton Roads can expect when he takes center stage.
You're so beautiful.
Performing. To me, that's what it's all for. I don't mind the studio, but it's not one of my favorite places. I like creating, so that's when the studio is fun. But as far as being in the booth, the reason why I do enjoy that is because, to me, the final product and the light at the end of the tunnel for any of it is performing it live.
For Jussie Smollett, life is good. This talented singer and award-winning actor has spent the last few weeks on a world tour, which will bring him to Norfolk, Virginia at the end of June.
Going to Hampton Roads Pride and doing Essence Fest and doing all of this type of stuff. We've been all over the world the last 6 weeks, and to me, it's been the most beautiful exhaustion of my life, because that's what it's all for. You make it so that you can create it and bring it to the people and see their reaction and feel them and all of that stuff. And to me, that's the best part, absolutely.
Jussie has been singing and acting most of his life. As a child actor, he co-starred in films like The Mighty Ducks. But things really took off when he was cast as middle son Jamal Lyon in the hit television series Empire. Jesse has even moved into the director's chair, putting his special touch on episode 16 of Empire's 4th season, where his TV mom, Cookie, is reconnected with her mom.
You said that you wouldn't give up on me. I'm here right now wanting to know you.
You'd think singing, acting, and directing would force Jesse to slow down. Not even close. In the midst of it all, he continues to collaborate with a very talented troupe of siblings.
We literally sit back and look for ways to collaborate. Right now, Journey and I are working on a film that we're producing, and that'll be announced pretty soon, but it's a pretty incredible story, and we get to play brother and sister. I love my sibling. Like, I will do anything for or with my siblings, so there'll definitely be more of that from all different elements, from things that I'm producing for my little brother and producing with him to films with Journey and things with my older sister. We're always going to work together, always.
Among their most recent group projects is a cookbook that they've titled The Family Table.
Are you a foodie? I mean, do you cook?
I'm such a foodie. I'm such a foodie. Yes, absolutely. My mom was from the 7th Ward, New Orleans.
Okay.
So it's kind of like we didn't really have a choice. Either you sink or swim. And we had to swim, so we definitely are cooks and in the kitchen and know how to throw down for sure.
And it's not just his family. Jesse loves people in general, which is evident in the causes he champions.
I care very, very deeply about the world. I care deeply. I don't know if anybody knows how deeply we go. I didn't announce it every single show. The tickets for the Summer of My Music tour, my proceeds will all be going to Flint Kids and the Black AIDS Institute and HRC. We're in such a place in the world right now. I wish that we would all be able to celebrate love a little bit more and step up and do our part just a little bit more. So I do think that it's important for us all to acknowledge and be better, because the world is going crazy right now, if you ask me.
Too many guns on the streets, and my heart can't take it no.
Jesse Smollett will bring his passion for people and music when he takes the stage at this year's Pride Fest 2018.
I'm not shying away from anything. So you're going to hear the Empire songs that you love. You're also going to hear most of the songs from my album. And the review that we've gotten, besides that it's a lit, fun, amazing show that's just like led with love, is that it feels like a 90s R&B concert.
For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
And Jesse Smollett is expected to take the stage in Norfolk's Town Point Park next Saturday, June 30th at 5 p.m. And while you're out there at Pride Fest, be sure to stop by the WHRO tent and meet some of us. The staff and personalities will be out there having a great time along with everyone else. And we hope you enjoyed this edition of Another View. We shared a lot of information today, so why not pass it on to someone who may be helped by it? Just go to anotherviewradio.org and download the podcast. And while you're there, please sign up for our eView newsletter. It's a once-a-week reminder of upcoming shows. We're on Facebook, so like us and help us to get to 2,000 likes. And I'm on Twitter at Barbara Ham Lee. Next week on Another View, we look at the issue of incarceration and the Black family. Be sure to tune in for Locked Up, Let Out. Our theme music was composed and performed by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Victor Bowen is our audio engineer, but actually Todd Washburn sat in for Victor today, and Maxie Lee answered our phones. Thank you, Mr. Lee. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. A special thank you again to Reed, Rejuvenating Excellence and Accomplishing Dreams, for joining us today in our studio. We hope they have a fabulous summer. And thank you, our listening audience, for listening to Another View.